Chapter 2, Section 3, equation of a line. Now, we're still in the same chapter, it's still in the same section, but now instead of using the method, I don't know if you remember on your notes, your 2-3 notes too, we talked about the method of how to find the equation of a line. And the first method we used was the slope-intercept method, which is what you just took yesterday, the quiz you just took yesterday. Well, now we're going to talk about the point-slope formula. This is a different method to find the equation of a line. Point-slope formula looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We can use this formula, okay, to find the equation of a line and put it into slope-intercept form, okay? The biggest thing you need to remember, okay, in order to get the equation of a line, you need to plug in a value for y1, x1, and m. Okay, y1, x1, and m. Then you're going to have to solve the equation for y. Okay? You keep the first y and x. Something that you need to know, okay? Y equals mx plus b is the equation you're used to using. The y in this equation and the y in this equation mean the same thing. The x in this equation and the x in this equation are the same thing, means the same thing, okay? So make sure you remember that. When we plug things in, we're plugging for point-slope form, we're just plugging in for y1 and x1. And we're solving for y. You keep the first y and the first x. You're going to plug in values for x1 and y1 and m, and then solve the equation for y, which is what we just talked about. And like I said before, when you use this method, it's exactly the same as using y and x plus b. And what does that mean? That means you're going to get the same answer. There are two ways to kill a deer that I can think of, or more than one way to kill a deer. One, you take a bow and arrow, and you go hunting and kill it with a bow and arrow, or you can take a gun and kill it with a gun. You can kill it with a card, you can kill it with a knife, whatever you use, there's different methods. Well, there's different methods for finding the equation of a line. Right now, we're just talking about two. The first one you took a quiz over already, which was y-intercept, y equals mx plus b method. And today we're going to talk about the point-slope method. Let's review y-intercept method, okay, just so that we can kind of remember what I'm talking about. When we took the quiz yesterday and you were given a point and slope, you were asked to write down the equation of the line, plug in your point, circle your point, plug it in. So I have -3 equals 2 times 4 plus b. -3 equals a plus b. Subtract a to solve for b. And I have -11 equals b. Now I go ahead and plug that in to find the equation of a line. Y equals 2x minus 11. This is the equation of a line. That's what the equation of a line looks like, where the slope is 2 and the y-intercept is -11. Don't forget, that's how we find the equation of a line. That is the equation of a line. It has to be in y equals mx plus b form in order to graph it. Now, I gave you a list of how to use slope-intercept or point-slope form. Okay, a list of steps. Some of you work really well with steps, especially when you're at quiz. You can go back, review, make sure you don't make any mistakes. I'm going to do the same exact equation as we just did here. Okay, y equals 2x minus 11, except now, instead of using the slope-intercept method, I'm going to go ahead and use the point-slope method and go step by step through it with you. Okay, step 1, find the slope. Well, we're already given the slope, so we don't have to use m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're already given the slope. Now, let's go to step 2. Label the point x1 and y1. So this is x1, this is y1. I'm not sure why the uniforms aren't little. They should be. And then you're going to go ahead and write the formula y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Remember, the y and the x stay in the equation. Plug in the values y1, m, and x1. I'm going to go ahead and plug in y1, m, and x1. So I have y minus y1 is negative 3 equals m is 2, x minus 4. The x and the y stay in the equation. Plug in the values, and now I'm going to solve for y. Okay, for which y? I'm solving for this y. Okay, so this is the same thing, minus a negative is the same thing as y plus 3 equals 2 times x minus 4. Go ahead and distribute your 2. So I have y plus 3 equals 2x minus 8. And then get rid of what's attached to your y. Here's my y. I have to subtract 3 from both sides in order to get rid of it. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. I can only subtract 3 from 8. I cannot subtract it from the x term. So I have y equals 2x minus 11. Now, look at the answers you had to both. Y equals 2x minus 11. Well, look at, we use point slope method, and what did we get? Y equals 2x minus 11. So does it matter which method I use? No. So, whichever one you prefer. Now, for your homework, I'm going to require you to use point slope method because I want you to know both. But then once you get the hang of it, as long as you can find the equation of a line, you can use either method. So let's go ahead and do another one. Step 1, find the slope. Am I given the slope? No, so I have to find the slope. So I'm going to go ahead and label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. So I have 3 minus 1 over negative 1 minus 1. Gives me, 3 minus 1 is 2. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. My slope is negative 1. Once I have that, I'm going to write down my equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Plug in for your y1, your m, and your x1, and solve for y. So I'm going to plug in. Now, does it matter which one I use? Which point I use here? I'm given 2 points. No, it doesn't matter. I like to choose the one without negatives and without fractions. So I think 1, 1 is the easier one. So I'm going to plug in 1, 1 here. And my slope is negative 1, which is where I get this over here. And I have x minus equals y minus. Now, how do we put it in y equals mx plus b form? We solve for y. So I'm going to distribute my negative 1. So I have negative 1x plus 1. This negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Equals y minus 1. Solve for this y, so add 1 to both sides. And I'm left with y equals negative 1x plus 2. Is that in y equals mx plus b form? Absolutely. So that's the equation of my line. What is the slope of this line? Slope is negative 1. What's the y-intercept? 0, 2. What does y-intercept mean? It's the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. The point at which the line crosses the y-axis. We need to talk about one more thing before we move on. Go ahead and solve this one by yourself, and this will be an entrance card when you come in tomorrow. On your homework, you're going to have problems that look like this in function form. Okay, if you remember, Mrs. Kreinveld talked about this a little bit with you. But don't get freaked out at function form. Okay? Function form just means this is my x values and these are my y values. So if that's the case, what are my 2 points? 1, 4, and 3, negative 2. And I can go from there. So I have to find my slope first. My m is, what are my points? x1, y1, x2, y2. So I have negative 2 minus 4 over 3 minus 1. go ahead and write down your point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Plug in for m, y1, and x1. So I have y minus, remember, it doesn't matter which point I use, I can just pick one. I'm going to go ahead and choose this point where my y is 4 equals, my slope is negative 3, x minus, and my x value is 1. Once I do that, I solve the equation for y. My y, first I want to go ahead and distribute this. So I have y minus 4 is negative 3x plus 3. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive. Add 4. And I'm left with y equals negative 3x plus 7. All right, go ahead and start your 2-3 worksheet 4 using point slope.